Hey everyone, I'm back in automation today because I think it's time that I made some improvements to my Magnum Opus. So this is how the car turned out after the last video. You can see the sort of gimmick of it is that it's one-to-one, but it's also supposed to be a design masterpiece. Masterpieces in quotes still. I really did try on this car, especially on the back end. I'm a big fan of that, but I think the rest of the car is a little bit lacking and I can definitely do more to it. So I've got a picture of a LaFerrari here. That's what this body is supposed to be, and we're going to take some design elements from a car that is very lovely and try to use those on this car as well to kind of transfer some of that prestige. Obviously I'm not going to be able to do it perfectly, and I'm not trying to make this car into a LaFerrari. This is just going to be my own interpretation of it, using some of the ideas from the actual Ferrari people who made this body in the first place. So today we'll be fixing some of the issues that I was thinking of when I was driving into BeamNG, especially the driving characteristics of it are not great. And also some of the design. I think the back is fine. I might tweak the transparency a little bit to cut it off here. But other than that, it's pretty okay. So we need to focus on the sides and the front and kind of just make something a little bit more detailed than this. It does look very plain, so I've got to be able to do more. First thing I'm going to do though, and this might surprise you, but the engine placement being mid-transverse, it's not working out. It's unfortunately causing us to have to be rear-wheel drive, and I'm going to go ahead and change it to longitudinal. This might mess up the car quite significantly, but we will see. Now the engine itself shouldn't have to change here. Apparently it's now making 1,200 horsepower in this version of automation, so something has indeed changed. Originally it was a 6-liter V12 making 900 horsepower, which was quite nice, naturally aspirated because turbo tuning is not my specialty. But now that it's making 1,200 horsepower, we're gonna have to struggle a little bit to get to the 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, that's quite strange because it says 1,200 up here and then it says 900 down here. I don't know if this is just the graph freaking out or something, but I'm gonna go by the power here. I have not changed the engine at all, so we'll just leave that. This is the open beta, so there are bound to be small issues. Okay, the body itself is staying the same. We'll have to make the rims carbon fiber again, but now you can see that V12 kind of hanging out the back a little bit more. It's not quite a sight to behold as it used to be in the back end, because you could usually see the pipes and everything, but that's going to be fine just there. Okay, so the wheels are back to being carbon fiber, which is good. I might change the mirrors to be purple, because the LaFerrari mirrors are red just like the car is. But other than that, paint aside, I'm not going to change anything. Here's the big thing though, all-wheel drive is now a possibility for us, and that is going to help out a lot. This kind of stuff here might change the tuning, so I'll come back to it at some point, but for now, I think that's pretty important. And then if we go to the summary, we can, well, we're weighing a little bit more than we should be. So we might have to crank up the power just a touch, or we'll dial back the weight in some way. I'll just try and figure out how to do that. Okay, so immediately onto the design here. I'm going to do some small things that, like I said, I was planning on doing. So the LaFerrari's fuel cap is actually right here. I don't know how I nailed that, but apparently I was right the first time. It's just a little bit over, so I'm going to do that. And then over here, let's see if we can change these rim or these mirror pieces separately. Yeah, okay, I do like the purple mirrors, so I'm going to leave those. They do seem to be a little bit small, especially in comparison to the car we're kind of basing this off of, at least very loosely basing, so I'm just going to increase the size of them just a touch, and I think that's going to be good. Now the front end kind of drew about a bunch of controversy. Well, not really that much controversy, but it was something that divided people. It's like, is this good? Is this bad? I don't like this lip, and I don't like the way that I did that. I'm fine with these lights, but I'm not sure about it either. That's one of those things I'm kind of torn on. I'm fine with having lights up here, but I thought that this would kind of be a cool touch. And then another thing I want to do is kind of carve out these inner vents here. That would be ideal. And then the back end, probably up on the top on these wing sections, we can put some pieces here to kind of emulate that style as well. Okay, that's a lot of talk, but I should probably get started. I'm still in the open beta as I was before, but the good news today is that there are a lot more mods working for the open beta. So I have full interior mods, although I don't have dog tape, so it's kind of useless. But I do have a bunch more wheels, a bunch more exhaust, and a bunch more lips and stuff to work with. One good thing that's changed is that the Super GT kit has made it over to the open beta, so I can use these parts here to kind of come up with this aerodynamic design that the LaFerrari has. Basically all of this is cut out, and it's got a double splitter which runs off of this piece here. Now I'm fine with this kind of design in this area, but I will try to emulate something out of that. I'm not sure if we're going to have the double splitter going on, but we'll see. Now, accomplishing this is going to be no small feat. I'm definitely going to be relying on these mods and these different objects that we have to kind of make this work. Stuff like this is getting there, but you can see this sticks out just a little bit too much, I think. It's close, but just a little too far. You know, I kind of like that. I'm unsure about it still, but I kind of like the way that it's looking. And that means that this is going to potentially have to change here as well. I'm going to try to make some vents that'll go in this to give it some depth. But again, we'll see. Now, what's probably the most simple way to do this is just to take pieces like these and kind of just slap them in there. And then you can see it cuts out the body a little bit, gives it some depth. These don't look particularly good on the side of this car though. And they don't look particularly good on the front either, so I'll give you an idea of what I'm going for though. Like if I make these carbon fiber, then it's kind of emulating what I'm going for, just like a deep hole in the car. But then if I raise this up, I can have it kind of go into the light a little bit, and then that kind of gives it a bit more depth. I think it's cool. Like that by itself gives the car a lot more definition, so I think I'm on the right path here. Okay, so these are mod fixtures that kind of allow for what I was thinking about, and that is really darn cool. I think that this is going to work out pretty much exactly how I wanted, and then we'll kind of have to drag things down here, or actually I could probably just make these bigger and lower them. If they would lower, that is. Okay, this is cool. I like the way that this is going. It's kind of like a big smiling face on there. It's angry looking now. I like having this piece here as well because it mixes it up, and I like how these cross over and kind of make a... Well, it's sort of like the LaFerrari's thing, except obviously not doing a double wing. So I'm immediately liking the way that this is going, and I'm kind of thinking about other detail that we can add. Like a symbol here perhaps would be good. I think last time my badges were broken or something, so I didn't add one, but this time around, let's add something on there. And this time around, I think I'll use this, I guess it's a, well, it's a bird of some kind, so that's close enough. Magnum Opus, here we go. Maybe an eagle or a hawk or something? Not sure. It seems to have talons. But that actually looks really darn good right there. Okay, so we have our big splitter, which is maybe not quite the right shape, but it does work for what we're going for here. There are quite a few other options, but I found that the one, like the first one here is probably the best one for this cause, and then basically all I did was make it carbon fiber. That's just the thing with this car. If you're not sure what to make it, it's got to be carbon fiber. I was considering putting on a full Super GT kit worth of parts, but I think I'm going to avoid that. I was actually thinking though, something that would be really cool, and I want to try this. On the actual car, I guess this is sort of turning into a LaFerrari build, even though that's not what I was intending, but there are these kind of black pieces that show the trim kind of along here, and there's a piece along here as well, and I think it'd be cool to try and emulate that, plus up here on the sides too, so yeah, I might be able to do that with these. Like this car for me is all about going way over the top of my usual designs, so if I can find some small detail to build upon, then I'm doing it right. Okay, there doesn't actually seem to be a body line here to follow, which is unfortunate for the front end. I'm assuming it lines up somewhere with the door, but I'm actually just going to leave that one, and I'll try and do this side first, and we'll see what this looks like before moving on to that other one. Thankfully, these trim pieces are very moldable and very usable. As I say that, it glitches out. Okay, so apparently this is now enveloped inside of the body, so that's quite strange. Apparently this this crack here has magical powers. Okay, that's maybe not quite as elegant as the actual car, so I'm just gonna erase that and just make my own body line here. Following the actual car's cuts, it doesn't work out quite as nicely as I would hope. Yeah, that's probably as good as that's gonna get, unfortunately. It looks okay though, I'll keep it for now. And then gotta do the same thing back here. It's a nice way to make it tie from the wheel over into the back end, so I think this will be fun. Thank goodness for the copy ability as well, because that's almost perfect size right out of the gate. So that's what the back looks like. I'm happiest with that so far in terms of this trim attempt. But the car is very slowly coming together, so I'm hopeful that things will turn out okay here. Just minor changes make a significant difference. And I'm sure the car is going to be way more drivable now that it's got all-wheel drive as well, once I tune it, that is. Okay, so I put a bit more work into the front end, and I've got these body molding parts right here, which I think look extremely good. I'm very happy with that. And I've kind of sectioned this off as well with a couple of other body molding parts that just break up the front a little bit. And then I put another one of these lips down here, which I think ties it all together. It's hard to see it. We'll have to go into photo mode, I think, to see the full thing, but yeah, that's what I'm going with for now. I'm really liking the complexity of this. I think it's coming together in a way that I didn't think it would, so I'm very happy. Now, some other ideas that I got from looking at this LaFerrari include in making the hood have a little bit more definition. Now, most of this stuff can stay the same pretty much. Here over to here is going to be just as it is, but I want to add some stuff here. I know that the actual car has a bunch of vents here. I tried to do that last time. I tried to put them here, but it was pretty challenging, so I'll try to put some here and see if I can make that work a bit better. So it's kind of strange because the vents are similar to this maybe, although that is not the right shape at all for this. So I'm probably going to have to make something custom instead of relying on pre-made stuff, which is very much par for the course on this build. All of this is custom. Custom as in I didn't just take one of these full fixture pieces here and just kind of slap one of them on, because you can do that and just kind of have your grille and lights and definition and all that stuff, but I'm trying to make this unique. Okay, so admittedly I wish these didn't go as deep as they do, because it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just so deep. It just kind of goes right into the car, like deep down in there, so I'm gonna pretend that I don't see that for now. Because I kind of like the way that these things look, and I like having two of them on there as well. I think what I might do though is I'm going to shrink them to be a bit smaller so they're a little bit less noticeable, and then I'm going to add a little bit more detail to them. But you can see that from a distance especially looks pretty darn good. So I had this idea when I was doing this, like the LaFerrari has a little kind of spoiler piece on the front end that I guess directs air out of these or into them. I'm not sure what this is even for on the car, and this spoiler here is actually going to work probably pretty well for it. These spoilers are always extremely finicky, so oh no, never mind now. Let me try that again. Now it's literally just like a small air dam there. That's quite a bit out. You know what, that's a little bit too much, isn't it? Darn, okay, I'm gonna have to try something else. Yeah, these spoilers are cool, but they kinda just never work for what I'm going for. That seems to be a very consistent thing, so let me try a lip instead. There's so much detail going on with this car that it's unfortunately lagging the game quite significantly anytime I try to do something with transparency. Oh, the frame rate just dies, even on my beastly computer. Okay, it's been a while, but I think that's my final design. We have the massively in-depth holes in the bonnet, and yeah, you can probably put your groceries in there. It's just early access to your trunk. That's pretty much it. But I think I'm good with the front end. Like, I really like the lights still. I wanted to hang on to those. I didn't want to go for like actual LaFerrari style lights. That is something I could do, but I kind of just like the way that this looks as is. I don't want to change the Magnum Opus too much. It needs to be small, a little bit subtle changes over time, and that's kind of what this is, and this is kind of cool. So I think it's time to move on to the sides, and this is where things get a little bit more interesting, because I need to cut this out without using dog tape, and I also want to put some detail here, and then I think that might be it, other than the back end, which I may or may not fix in this video. We'll see. I guess not much is really going on in terms of design this time. I'm just kind of making changes to a previous design, but I don't know, I find this cool as well, and hopefully you do too. The last Magnum Opus video was pretty popular, so it seems like this car is one to look out for. Okay, so here's my idea. I want to try to put some of these on here to make this have a bit more definition, but they are, as you can see, quite finicky, to the point where you can give your car ears. But when you do try to get them going right, they do tend to not connect in maybe the way that you would have hoped. I don't know, I just have trouble with these, as well as a lot of other body molding pieces. But as I said that, they were definitely helpful here. Now there are some drastic ones of these up here, and these are very drastic. They also cut the underneath, or the underside of them as they go. But you can see you can really mess things up using these. especially before they morph around it, but it just kind of digs a hole straight into the engine there. You know, I'm gonna say that this idea was a failure. These could probably be used for wings or something, but they just do not want to contact the body. As close as I get them, they unfortunately do not want to get up close. Let me see if I can... Yeah, it sort of just looks like this. So you can have your kind of ear style wings, pig ear wings maybe. It's interesting, it's very unique. You know, it doesn't even look that bad on this car, but I think I'm gonna get rid of that for now. I'll try something else. Shifting focus a little bit, let me try and cut this out here so we can have like a huge indent in this spot. So if you want to make your car have just very strange open doors, kind of like an actual fishbowl concept car, you can grab these pieces here, put them on, and then fully see your interior from the side. That would be a pretty interesting design choice. I'm surprised nobody did this in the showcase. But as you would probably guess, I found that out by attempting to use one of these just to cut this part out, because I want it to be as deep as possible, and that in this case means, well, cutting. Lots of cutting. Yeah, that's just not gonna work. I'm gonna have to find another way. Everything I've done and attempted so far with this has been pathetically bad, I will say. There is really nothing that fits this shape. It's quite an odd shape, and that means that I can't get what I want on this one. It's not easy in the first place because the idea is to cut it here and then just kind of leave this part open, but the depth is along the side and it would be kind of a flat piece here. It's just doesn't seem to be possible with the tools that I've been given so far. I thought about cutting it out entirely, so just an idea of on how to do that. I was using this piece here, and then I changed that to translucent, but that would let me kind of cut a hole into the car, basically in that spot, and that I thought was going to go somewhere, but unfortunately I would need to use a bunch of these to make a proper hole, and then kind of use some other pieces as well to fake it in. And again, the issue with that is the more of these that I have, even making them translucent, it's just gonna leave other pieces in them, so it just starts to look weird and just generally not good. So I think I'm going to avoid that for now. It's unfortunate, but that is how it is. Now the LaFerrari does have a very small side lip, and I like that idea, so I'm going to use that as well to kind of give this a bit of context. We'll see if this actually works out though, especially duplicating this twice. This thing is going to have some very weird aerodynamics, and that sticks out maybe a bit more than I would like. Yeah, unfortunately this is one of those mod fixtures that can only be moved on one axis. It's either bigger or smaller, that's it. So that's kind of what we get. You'd have to be extremely careful walking on this car, trying to get into it. That would not be easy. Well, it's been about an hour and really not much has changed on the car. The front end is different and I think it looks better for it. Let me know what you think of this. On the sides I have the trim here, which looks a little bit different. Not much has changed in this area. I guess I'm going to need to wait for more mods to do what I want to do here and here. But other than that, I think it's definitely improved. Not much has changed in the back, literally nothing actually. I should probably fix this transparency though. Like, the transparency is cool, but it is also breaking the game, so I think I might just turn them all over to non-transparent. That's kind of how it looks like in BeamNG anyways. I can always change it back, but that's what it's gonna look like. No more lag over here. Alright, so we do have some things to work out now that the car is kind of done, at least in terms of design. It does weigh more, and that means it potentially needs more power, or we can take some of that weight off of it. We'll have to see what we can do, because wheel spin is still an issue, so let's go back to the tuning and see if I can just make this car drive a little bit better. Now that it looks better, that is. Okay, so it's all-wheel drive, it's a dual clutch, 7 speeds, that's a lot of speeds. Currently rocking at top speed, I think it was 478, but the thing is currently in the way of what I want to see. This is the real top speed here. And it looks like we might be able to do a little bit better. Okay, so it's a 36.9% chance of wheel spin, which is pretty high chance in first gear mostly, up to gear 4. Electric LSD as well, that's probably going to help. I'm going to put this like pretty significantly to the back. You can see that already helped it. Most of the weight in this car is in the back, so this just kind of makes sense. So I think I'm going to leave it right there. Something I find interesting is that it's saying that the chosen power distribution is ineffective, but it's exactly what the weight distribution is. And if I change it, then it's kind of off. So I don't know what that's talking about. Back over to wheels, we've got radials, semi-slicks. The tires on this are big, but they could be bigger. They could be inhumanly large. Put them all the way up here and you got some monsters. We are a little bit into oversteer territory. That graph should be pointing down, so let me see if I can fix that. I mean, I guess it's better that we're an oversteer instead of understeer, but as of right now, that's not too bad. Wheel spin is 31%. It would be best if that was lower. Okay, so I've increased the size of the front wheels a little bit now that we're all-wheel drive, and I actually decreased the size of the back wheels. And that seems to be working out okay. Like, we're 99.9% sporty. Going over here, we have very strong brakes. I don't think that needs to change at all. So I'll just leave that. And then downforce is currently causing issues. Downforce at top speed is too high, which is breaking the suspension. It should be okay the way it is. You don't really experience that unless you're going top speed, so I should be okay. But it's good to have at least some downforce here. Things are good now that I have a ton of front downforce. Look at that. That is really high. Hold on a minute. I think I need to change this. There we go. We need some more of that rear downforce. Not so much on the front as it was. And I think I'm going to increase the rear wing angle as well. Actually, no, decrease. But the rear should still have more. That makes more sense. Okay, even though I really like using even numbers, I think I'm just going to... Yep, that's super close. Okay, 65 and 10. That gives us very close downforce between the rear and the front, but that means that the rear is just a little bit higher, and the rear tires have blown. Oh my goodness. Alright boys, I did it. 100% sportiness. Now that's some pure genius right there. Unfortunately, my wheel spin has gone up, but yeah, the car's looking pretty darn good. Okay, it's really hard to take weight out of this car. It's up to 962 kilos, but yikes, now that we've made this change, I think we're going to have to make a few engine adjustments to get it up to 962. So it's not just going to be 900 horsepower anymore, it's going to be even more powerful, which is unfortunate because the wheel spin is still a huge issue. It must be my gearing that's screwing this up. You can see the top speed has gone up, so that means I can probably do a bit better here. And yeah, I can. Our wheel spin's going down, which is good. That's exactly what I need. So I've allowed us to get up to 91 kilometers an hour in first gear, which has lowered wheel spin quite significantly. I think it's down by 10%. Same thing with increasing this up a little bit. So wheel spin is still a problem, but it's not quite as bad of a problem. And if we match the power distribution here, it's now 39. So that means that the wheel spin is 25%. However, that is about to go up because we need to get up to 962. Alright, here we go. Okay, everything here is pretty much okay. It's still a 6-liter, and it's still quality all the way up. This graph is wrong though, and that's going to be a problem. Oh no, how am I supposed to figure out how much power it has? I'm going to have to keep jumping back and forth between this and the tuning. That is a slight pain. Yeah, I remember them saying something about this being an issue in the bug fix, so I guess it just hasn't been fully fixed. Keeping in mind again that I'm in open beta. You know, something I never noticed about this engine is that the compression is ridiculous. 14:1, that is nuts. I don't know how I did that, but apparently our fuel economy was actually pretty good. I think we were getting 7 liters per 100 kilometers. Make some high compression, high horsepower V12s, please. I guess the only problem is that it costs $13,000 to make one of these. That's not exactly cheap. I'm making the car incredibly inefficient just to get it all the way up to 960, because at this point efficiency does not matter. Maybe an exhaust? Actually, that broke it. Let's just leave that right where it is. Alright guys, I think I found the way to cut the weight. I've got mufflers on this car, and I don't think we need them. That's probably going to cut just enough. I'm at 956 horsepower, and the actual weight of the car down here is 963. Oh man, so close. Okay, a little bit more tuning needed. You know, I don't think it needs a catalytic converter. Say goodbye. Okay, just a little bit more power, a little bit of less weight off there. So we're down to 958, and I think we have exactly that much power, or somewhere in there. 960. Oh man, it's so close. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it down just a little bit. Just one tick of the fuel. Actually, that increased power. Oh no. 956. That is really darn close. If I have this one tick up, then it's 960, so that's not the way to do it. 959, oh man. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna round it to 960 both ways. 960 horsepower sounds pretty darn good to me, and by the way, I think this is going to drive a lot better. RPM is up, the RPM limit is up, and now we have no exhaust, so it's going to be extremely loud. Yeah, I think overall things are just going good. However, if we cut that last muffler, then we're down to 950, so I can lower the power even more. You know what? Okay, let's do that. 950 is the goal. And there we go, 951. That is perfect for me. 951 horsepower, 949.9 kilos. That is really darn close to 1-to-1. I think that fits the theme of the car, and I think it's time that I tried this out in Beam to see how well it drives. It might not drive too well now that it's undergone some significant changes, but we shall see. I'm going to try it anyways. Alright, so here's what the car looks like in BeamNG. I'm kind of regretting making these side pieces the way that I did, and I'm not a fan of those, so I think I can do those better. But other than that, I'm very happy with the way that the car has turned out. BeamNG kind of butchers a lot of the textures, so yeah, just kind of ignore that. The wheels look way darker than they actually are, but the front end, my goodness, that is a significant improvement. I think it turned out a lot better than it did before, and I'm pretty happy with this car the way it is, especially in how it drives. So with this new all-wheel drive, we actually get to experience what it's like to drive a 950 horsepower V12 1-to-1 ratio of horsepower to kilograms, which might not be a true 1-to-1 ratio. I probably should be using kilowatts, but it's okay. We'll just mix metric and imperial for this. Just casually, you know. So I've been playing a lot of SnowRunner, and that means I've been driving things that are very slow, and I'm not used to driving something that is this ridiculously fast. So let me just step on the gas here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I think this car has turned into a bit of a monster now that it's actually drivable. It is ridiculously quick, and also damaging. Just in terms of acceleration alone though, it is just nuts. I think this would be a pretty darn good drag strip car, just with the amount of grip that it has and the fast acceleration. I'm constantly losing that piece that goes underneath it, unfortunately, at least under hard driving, but yeah, other than that, it holds together well. Probably one of the better cars I've made. And I think that owes to the fact that I did actually spend some time tuning it. I didn't just use a suspension preset, I did change things a little bit, just to affect the graphs in the way that I wanted them to look. And it turned out pretty darn good. I think it's a pretty reasonable preset that I've created for myself here. In order to test that theory of the drag strip, this is drag strip material, so let me just quickly reset and we'll give it another try. I think the only challenge is, because it's a dual clutch, I would probably have to shift twice at the beginning, which is not easy to do, but dual clutch cars can be ridiculously quick on the drag strip, so here we go. Yeah, that was pretty fast, and I guess if we hit this ramp as well, we can get an idea of how high we can go. The engine brakes pretty easily, but it is kind of at the back and low down, so that is to be expected. It's not exactly a gremlin inline 6 as we've seen, the cockroach of engines. In fact, it's more like two of them put together. Alright, so I just had an idea. What if I race the original version of the Magnum Opus, which is lighter, but has less power, versus this one that has 50 more power, but also weighs 50 more kilos? The thing is, all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive is going to make a huge difference here, but let's see what the AI will do with it, and we'll see what I can do with it as well. So yeah, I'd just be currently racing myself with this current setting, but if I go back over to my list of cars, which is quite vast these days, I'm going to make this one red, and then we'll be racing the Magnum Opus other one. Oh yeah, there it is. Well, in red it actually looks pretty darn good. But this is the AI controlling it. I want to see what they can do with it. They don't have to shift or anything, but yeah, this car is a little bit uncontrollable, as you probably saw in the last video, so it'll be interesting to race against it. Let's see if I can do anything good though. Just gotta make sure I can stage this car. That's always the tricky part with these. Oh, I just jumped it. Ah, I'm an idiot. Okay, hold on. Okay, attempt 2. I'm gonna try not to jump the light this time. Just gotta roll on in here just a little more. There we go. And Oh, I forgot about the wheelies. I'm just gonna stay in drive. Yeah, I completely forgot about the wheelies, but in this case, it turns out the V2 is much faster. Let me try that again. Okay, so let's just watch the first Magnum Opus here, in its terrible wheelie issue. That was a lot of fun, but maybe not exactly practical. And also, I'm kind of floating off the run here. Yeah, the other car is having difficulty staging now. Something's gonna miss. I guess the AI didn't want to have to deal with that wheelieing issue. Okay, take two. Watch that other car, and it just takes off. Goodness. That is really funny. And okay, they were not able to control it either. Looks like I'm gonna get a pretty decent time. That's not even sport mode. 8.2 seconds. Oh boy. What have I created here? Well, there you have it. The wheeling issue is finished. And we're into all-wheel drive territory now. I know doing wheelies does give it character, but it also makes it completely undrivable, which defeats the purpose of having it. I want to be able to drift it and drive it and take it to a road course. I don't know, whatever we can do with it in this map. I need to make a competitor for it though, because this thing is kind of unlike any car I've made in the past. It is actually okay, at least from my perspective. So what I think I'm going to do this time, and I haven't done this for a while, but I'm going to post this one on my Discord, so if you want to check it out, I'll post it in the new video section if I remember to. Somebody remind me if not, and then you can definitely go and see it. When this video goes live, go check out the Discord, and you should be able to find it in the new section. It's an open beta car, and it does have a couple mods on it, so you're going to want to make sure that you have that. Otherwise, yeah, have fun. Let me know what needs improving on it. Let me know what you think of it, and I think that's going to be it for this video. I just wanted to say before we get into the supporter thanks that if you've watched it all the way to this point, you may as well subscribe. I'm going to keep making videos like this in the SnowRunner series as well. If you enjoy that kind of content, please support the channel. I appreciate it a lot. Things have kind of been going down a little bit lately. YouTube views not so good, and YouTube everything else seems to be a little bit up and down. But these are the people that keep things consistent. We have Canadian Steel, Overlord, Dr. Ivo, That Rice-Stud Explorer, QT Bear, Terry Williams, The Most Random Person, Sickty Cars and Stuff, Boris Ramirez, Jug, and Jacob. Thank you all for your support. Appreciate all of you a lot, and if you're watching this video as well, thank you. I'll see you guys again a little bit later this week for some more content.